Hey there everybody, welcome back to the Dan Cave and welcome to an inbox review of the Hasegawa 24 scale Subaru Legacy. So if you watch my bench updates, I've been mentioning for a couple of months I'm going to build this. So I'm going to do an inbox review of it. It's going to be a video build, and it's also going to be my entry to the Japanese group build over at International Scale Modeler over at ISM. So this is going to be an inbox review. I've kind of showed you some of the things in the box already, some of the plans I have, but in this kind of quick inbox review I'm going to dive in a little bit more, have a little bit of a look at what's actually in the kit, and give you some of my thoughts before I dive into building it and before I get to local cars and bikes out, before I get into part one, which for the cars will be probably a similar format. It'll be the bodywork, paint, decals, etc. So welcome back to the channel. If you've not been here before, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to give a like for the video, and if you want to, feel free to leave a comment as well. Of course, if you have been here before, please remember to like the video. So without further ado, let's head on over and dig into this box and see what we're going to do with it. I'll come back at the end for some final thoughts. So, the Subaru Legacy. It's not a World Rally car, it's not actually a WRC car, it's actually a Group A car. So I mentioned this in a couple of bench updates recently, so I've been kind of itching to get round to this, and finally at the point where I'm going to start opening the box and kind of starting to do some work on it. But first and foremost, I'm going to do an inbox review and see what I think of it. So let's get the box open. So I'm going to put these aftermarket decals, actually the main decal sheet, aside. We'll come back to those a little bit later. So Hasegawa instructions, presented in Japanese and English. Colour callout for Mr. Hobby. So Mr. Colour lacquer paints and Mr. Hobby aqueous. Usual paint callouts, and as you can see by a couple of highlighted points, I did start thinking about building this before. I'll put it back in the box as I wanted to wait for a specific scheme. So we'll come back and we'll have a little bit more of a look at the instructions a little bit later. So what have we got? So I did take the body out of its plastic before, so we'll have a look at that in a second. We've got clear parts, a little bit of photo etch, and material for the seat belts, I would imagine. So we'll get to that soon. We've got a fairly big bag for all the plastic parts. So it looks like all the main plastic parts are in one bag. So we'll get to that in a second. So let's have a look at the body first. So I suppose ultimately there's not a huge amount to it. Subaru Legacy, when it rallied, it wasn't one of those cars that was, covered in kind of wings aerodynamic. It was the latter days of Group A rally cars, so still very much production oriented. So the cars externally looked very, very similar to their production based versions. So this one ran for a number of years with Subaru. So the kit itself is the 93 RAC Rally, and 93 would have been the last year they ran with these. They switched over to the Impreza later in that year. But generally, when it looks at the body, there's A little bit of a seam line. Let's grab something to point with. So there's a little bit of a seam line just here. It looks like the join runs in the kind of the boot gap, but then obviously pops up here. Then yeah, it kind of runs up the C-pillar. Yeah, runs along the roof both sides, and then runs into the rubber seals on the A-pillar. Little bit of an appearance right there at the corner of the bonnet by the kind of scuttle panel, then runs its way down, yeah, front to back, that kind of standard seam that runs all the way front to back, and it's down the rear bumper as well. Other than that, it's a fairly clean mould. I think the door shuts, I'll probably scribe them out to give them a little bit more depth. Probably need to be a little bit careful handling it with this B pillar, which is quite thin. But generally, that kind of body, a little bit of clean up, that can go very, very quickly into primer. But I would imagine, like a lot of rally cars of this time, the chassis and some of the interior parts will be in the body colour as well. So we need to kind of group all them together. So that is the body. So in the main bag, excuse the rustling, we seem to have a loose part, maybe some flash, but let's make sure that that's not something essential before I do dispense with it. So this sprue's got what's probably the roof vent. There is a little bit of flash on it, just along here. That should be easy enough to clean up. And then both wing mirrors. Again, they're a little bit rough. It's a bit of tidy clean up just to make them look smart. Yeah, there's a little bit of a seam line on them as well. It's a little bit of fine detail work with some sanders. They'll clean up quite easily. So second sprue that we're looking at. So this got the chassis. Again, there's a few little bits of flash. Again, this kit is getting on a bit from Hasegawa. Not sure what year they originally released it. It's probably stamped somewhere, but just says made in Japan. But yes, there's a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of flash, some seam lines, got a radiator there. The annoying pin injection marks on the back of it. However, I would imagine that'll be mounted this side out, so they won't be visible at all. Interior mirror and what looks like the rear wiper as well. So this is sprue N. Again, there is a little bit more flash on this one. The seats have got quite a bit. Brake discs, quite an amount of flash. Yeah, it's quite a bit of flash all around this. A little bit disappointing, kind of shows its age now. Got our pedals, steering wheel, brake discs, probably some interior parts. What look like smaller mirrors. This is probably a variant that uses those, and they look like blanks for the mirrors. Oh yeah, so they'll be the blanks for the smaller mirrors. Steering arm, handbrake, not sure, gear stick. Of course, back in these days, rally cars were still pretty much all manual transmissions. Got the interior kind of tub, molded in extinguisher. Again, a little bit of detail painting to pick that out will be needed. This will probably get painted up in body colour. Got the wheel brace and foot panels. Of course, what does need to be checked is was it left-hand drive? not sure, but I'll need to check that just for the point of view of accuracy, because I think this kit only comes as left-hand drive, so let's make the assumption that all the rally cars were left-hand drive for the moment, but obviously when I start digging into the research we'll check that. Yeah, so fairly simple curbside kit. There we go. So next up is all the running gear. So fairly simple. Got kind of a single kind of silhouette of the bottom of the engine. Gearbox, drive shafts, prop shaft to the rear diff, and some drive shafts at the back. 4 suspension arms. I guess they're kind of mounting plates for it probably. Kind of wishbones and various subframes for part of the suspension, yes. All relatively rudimentary. I mean, some parts like the gearbox looks quite crisply shown, but again you can see there's quite a lot of flash on this particular runner. You could say it's a little bit disappointing, but yeah, there'll be quite an effort to clean up this actually now, looking at the amount of flash. Some busy sanding times ahead. So we have the exhaust moulded as single piece, massive seam line running down it, a few bits of flash on it. So yeah, so a little bit of tidy up work needed there. So yeah, so that looks like that piece that fell off looks like it came off there, which I'm guessing is not actually part of the exhaust and is just another injector area. But I guess it was probably originally designed so that would be clean off, but with the amount of flash on it, that's been left behind. So we've got our four wheels. It doesn't look like there's a spare. Yeah, so no spare inside the car. Roll cage, again, that's pretty badly flashed now. So quite a lot of careful cleanup needed to bring that up to standard, and yeah, that'll be a sump guard for the underside. So I can't remember what wheels they were that they ran. See if I can find it on the internet, which is in front of me on another screen. But however, yeah, so the wheels themselves, not great. The detail in the hubs is a bit kind of vague, reminiscent of kind of hub detail. Wheel lugs. But yeah, there's a little bit of sink mark on them as well. That's something that might need a little bit of attention, just to maybe sand the face back a little bit. Just to try and get rid of that, because that could be quite noticeable in the completed kit. And then the last thing that came out of that big bag is the 4 tyres and the 4 poly caps. So treaded tyres, they look quite thin. Yeah, it looks like they'll fit nicely on those rims. They are quite thin. So yeah, so that will be, yeah, so this was originally, so the kit was for the RAC rally, so that would have been a gravel rally, so yeah, so we'll take it, this is a rally, gravel rally spec car, which is good, because the plans I have for it are also for a gravel rally. Yeah, so let's pop them to one side. And let's go have a look at the clear parts. Now, it's always nicer when they put them in a completely separate bag. But I guess they're in with stuff that's in its own separate bag. So, carefully take that out. So, one complete tub for the windscreen, side windows, rear screen, various lights. headlights, indicators, and then that rather distinctive Legacy kind of rear light cluster and strip across the back. And then with the Subaru name just kind of frosted into it, I suppose the best way to describe it. So yeah, so the glass itself, it's not perfect. A little bit of distortion, not horrendously bad, but not to the point that it'll make the interior look bad, but the interior won't look great through it. Yeah, there's a little bit of distortion. I wonder if a little bit of a polish with some Novus might bring it up a little bit better. There's a little bit of micro scratching in it. And there is you can see a slight frosting around where you'll need to mask out for the black that'll get paint on the inside. So we have a bag with a little piece of hose or something. I'm guessing it's going to be material for mud flaps and material for seat belts. It's probably just easier to replace this with some ribbon. Looks like there's a piece of wire in there as well, which I would imagine is for the whip aerial on the roof. Wonder if that plastic is just for the base of the aerial. Nice little touch, but yeah, I would probably replace the seatbelt material with some ribbon. And looking at the so we've got some photo etch. There's a grill, some photo etch, some secondary little grills, bonnet pins, and then it's mainly seatbelt stuff, and that is 2mm wide. They'll be looking for some 2mm ribbon. I think I only have 3mm at the moment, so I may yet use this. Depends on what I can find as I'm building it. So that is the interior. Sorry, that is the photo etch. Yeah. Sometimes they do have a habit of having a sneaky mask set as well, but it doesn't look like there's one there. So let's get this glasswork popped back inside the bag, because that will keep it protected in the box. Don't want to scratch it anymore. But yeah, it might be a good idea to give that a little bit of a polish up with some Novus polishing, which might help improve the clarity a little bit, because it ain't great. But then that's one of the kind of downsides to some of these older Hasegawa kits. And then the last bit that comes in the box is the decal sheet. So this is from the RAC Rally. So you've got car number 10, which was Richard Barnes, car number 12, which was Colin McRae. We're not going to use them. So we have some tyre decals as well for Pirelli tyres. This car would have run. So instead, as I said in one of my bench updates, I'm actually going to go with this scheme, which is this scheme. That's the roof decal. So this will be in the Subaru Blue 555 scheme. Rally New Zealand 1993, which was Colin McRae's first win in World Rally Championship. Subaru's first win in the World Rally Championship, and also the last rally that they actually ran the Subaru Legacy in, because by the next event they'd replaced it with the Impreza. So there we go, some fun rallying facts there. But yeah, so Rally New Zealand. So yeah, so you can see they actually were running Michelin tyres on the World Rally stages, so interesting. So it is interesting that. So Rally Great Britain. If we can find some details for that rally. So wonder. So it is interesting they're using two different tyres. I wonder if that was mandated for the World Rally Championship. No, it wasn't, because just looking on the interweb, which is right there in front of me, some teams were running Michelin's, and Subaru were actually running both. There we go. Aha, and Colin McRae didn't race in Rally GB for the Subaru World Rally team. Have a look back at his complete racing record on Wikipedia. So he was obviously running for the Subaru team. Interesting. So 93. Ah, so that was run by Subaru Rally Team Europe. Yeah, so we ran selected events for them. That was 92, so 93, 555 Subaru World Rally Team. Yeah, so this car, the box car, is actually run by the Subaru World Rally Team. But ran Pirelli tyres. There we go, a little bit more research to do, I think. As ever, I'm going to be doing it in this scheme. So, the important other question is paints. So there are a number of choices. Well, actually there's no choice. There's only one correct paint. So, first one is a wheel colour. So I would imagine it's going to be Subaru Wheel Gold. Definitely what was used on the Imprezas. But I would need to check to make sure that it was also on the Legacies. But I think it was. So that'll be the wheel colour. So then we have a selection of paints, also all from Zero actually, for World Rally Blues. So there are 3. So there is World Rally Blue, which is for the WRC car, 2001 to 2006. Not this one. We have the 555 Rally Blue, that was WRC 97 to 2002. So that would have included the 2-door car and I guess the Bug-Eye car as well. So not for a Legacy. And then there's 555 Monte Carlo Rally. So that's 94 to 96. Now, so what colour was 93? Now I imagine, and I believe it's probably going to be this colour, but I need to look at some photos and dig around some references just to make sure. But at the moment, that's the favourite. As ever, if it's not, I'll get some more paint and I'll still have 3 unused Subaru Rally Blues. But I do have kits for all those other paints to get used. So, there we go. Let's have a look at the instructions. So as I said earlier, typical Hasegawa, Mr. Hobby Colours, some Mr. Colour paints, Mr. Colour Aqueous. Oh, because I didn't actually read car number 12. Sorry, we're jumping backwards a little bit. Bear with me. So car number 12 is actually Alistair McRae. So ignore everything I said. Colin McRae would have been in this car, Rally GB. Alistair McRae would have been in this box car, this LNX Scheme 4. Yes, that was Alistair. There we go. Should have read this before I did the review, but as ever, you're learning as I do. So yeah, so the only thing I need to check are colours. Make sure it's left-hand drive. So Hasegawa. Oh, it's these fold-out ones. They're not the most enjoyable. So let's go one by one, or a little bit. So we have got parts layout. Okay, so quite usefully they have identified what parts are not to be used. So them smaller mirrors that I mentioned are not to be used, and different sets of wipers not to be used. Some different lights, which I guess that's for left or right hand drive, are not to be used, and a couple of the photo etch bits. Fantastic, we know where we're going there. So starting point in the instructions is the interior. So yeah, so I've started looking through. So number 1 is Mr. Colour number 1, which is white, which would have been the box kit, but that'll actually be replaced with whatever blue I go with. There you've got all the kind of detail painting callouts for the interior, which is all going to be, yeah, probably painted up, masked up. Don't know which way around we'll do it. Yeah. Paint up the seats, add in the harnesses. So yeah, it's got a little bit of a layout for the harness material. Yeah, 2mm. Need to find some 2mm ribbon. Build up the roll cage. Roll cage is also in the body colour. Dash, black and grey by the looks of it. Mr. Hobby number 13 is neutral grey. Yeah, so typical Japanese car of that era, grey and black. Detail paint callouts for dashboard. Wheel wells. Yeah, so they're black. Detail painting for the drive shaft, underside of the engine silhouette. Steering mechanism, suspension arms, subframes, etc. Skid plate, exhaust, brake discs, all onto the chassis. So then it's got underguard rear installation. Interesting. Yeah, so is that? So is that? Yes, it is. Okay. So one of those is cut out for basically a massive kind of mud guard. Oh, well, yeah, massive mud guard. Sits behind the exhaust, stops crap getting thrown up the rear diff, and then some of it is individual kind of mud flaps. Okay. Radiator wheels. So wheels are called out in number 9, which is gold. So they're definitely gold. Detail painting then for a front bumper, front lights, trim, exterior bits. Yeah, some of the photo etch gets used. So for example, a little bit of photo etch is used right there on one of the mud flaps. Mirrors, wiper blades. Bob's your uncle. And that will be the kit finished. So can we reassemble this back to the way it came? Yes. So there we go. That's the 30-minute inbox review of the Subaru Legacy. So as I said, a little bit of research to do. Looks a straightforward kit. Let down by a lot of flash now due to the age, but I'm looking forward to it. So let's go back to me for some final thoughts. So there we have it, the Subaru Legacy RS from Hasegawa, which is going to be done as one of the cars that was run in the World Rally Championship, which was actually an event-winning car, which was actually their first WRC victory, which was the New Zealand round of the championship of that year. So there we go. There's my inbox review. I'm really looking forward to this, particularly as it's a relatively simple curbside kit. I say that. You don't know until you get into these things, but you know, as I said in my last bench update, not built as many kits as I kind of wanted to, so felt like I wanted to get back to maybe a simpler curbside kit, something that should go together reasonably okay, and this seems to tick all the right boxes for that. And it's a subject that, you know, I said earlier in the year I was going to build some rally cars this year. I've only managed one so far, so let's stoke the rally car fire with this one, and hopefully this will lead on to a few more. But however, obviously I've not done any work on the kit yet. Part 1 will be a little bit further on down the road, but I do plan on starting this pretty soon, so look out for that. So thanks for watching, and as I said at the start, if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel, please give a thumbs up, feel free to leave a comment if you want. If you've been here before, I'll request again that you give a like, but yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye for now.